getting yourself involved in practice. So,
Okay, sir.
all right. Thank you. All right. So today we are going to be discussing about network security. All right. Network security. Can you see my screen? Hello.
Yes, sir, we can.
All right. So before we start, I'd like to challenge us with this. What you can see before you, and it said the three dominant questions to ask when learning. Right. This applies to anything you are aside this cybersecurity course, anything that you want to delve into that you haven't uh, know before, any information that you are maybe through reading or through learning as you have come today. These are the three dominant questions you should be asking. Number one is, how can I use this? Right? You paid for this course, right? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you paid for it. And the question you should be asking yourself is, how can I use this information that I'm learning from here? You know, second question is, why must I use this? And the third question is, when will I use this? When you get yourself soaked with this information, with these questions as we proceed in the course, you will begin to get an answer as to why you must engage with this information you are being equipped with. You are being equipped with here. So don't just be following along in a docile manner. Be proactive, be active, and don't be passive. And those by when I mean don't be passive. Don't just be watching the videos and just scrolling. Those, if you can be asking yourself this question, how can I use this cyber? If peradventure this is your first time you are learning about cybersecurity, right? And you'll be asking yourself, how can I use this? What area can I apply this to? You can apply it to your own personal life individually, and if you will have interest, because as we proceed further, you will see that it's a field that is broadly wide, and there are few sub fields in cybersecurity that you don't even have to know much technical stuff for you to break into, right? So it's just for you to be curious and to get yourself engaged. So, and as you can see, this question are gotten from this book, Limitless by Jim Quick. Is in no way a technical book. It's just a self-help book. So I just want us to challenge us with that, to be a voracious reader, right? Yes, don't just set yourself on what's it called, on technical books alone. Read books that will actually build you up. Right. So what we shall be covering today, number one is understanding TCP/IP. As I said earlier, we are going to be discussing network security. It's an arm under cybersecurity, as you will see, as you are going to see. Hold on, I think there is a request to join. Hello, Olumide. You are welcome. Kindly mute yourself, please.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. So what we shall be covering today in today's lecture is understanding TCP/IP, understanding three-way handshake, understanding program, service, and ports. And we are going to be port scanning using Nmap, a network mapper tool. This may sound gibberish to you, but just open your mind to learn, because as I said, it's an handy course, it's a practical course. I'm not just going to stop you with theory aspect of. Anybody can go online and read. You can go to Google and be ask question about all this. Google will bring it to you, but the focus of this course is to get your hands dirty, so to say, to get you engaged on how those things work. We are going to be practically seeing all of these things yet. So don't be set aback in some way. So let's proceed. What is computer network? Computer network is a collection of computer devices that are connected in various ways in order to communicate and share resources. This set of computers can be connected locally together through a network device known as switch. You can see that the switch here is italize it. So it's a networking device. So let me continue. They can also be connected globally together through a networking device known as router. All of these things, as we are going to see as we move further in the class in today's session, you will see that is something that we are mostly familiar with. So don't be scared about the terms. Let me go through it again. Computer network is a collection of computer devices that are connected in various ways in order to communicate and share resources. This set of computers can be connected locally together through a network device known as switch, and they can also be connected globally. Can you see the two words now, locally and globally? They can also be connected, globally together through a network device known as router. So this is a pictorial representation of the definition I just gave. As you can see from here, this is your ISP, Internet Service Provider, right? This I will still come to that. We are still going to look into that. But look at this diagram. You can see the network. You have laptop. We have set of laptops. These are collection of devices, right? We have printers. We have PlayStation. We have phones. So what you can see here, you can see this 192.168.0.101. This is an IP address. One of the requirements I stated earlier in the first session was that you must have the basic understanding of networking, and that entails knowing what IP address means. In case you don't know, let me quickly, for the sake of practicality, let me quickly show us what I meant by IP address. If you go to start on your laptop and press CMD, command prompt, press enter. Let me broaden the screen so you can see. As you can see, this is a command prompt for me to check the IP address on my computer, on this computer. IP address is just a number, right? For example, now on your phone, you have a contact on your phone, and under your phone you have the numbers which are in digits, maybe 0904. Those are the digit number, right? I want you to be seeing that as an IP address. So that is an IP address now, and you now use a name, a mnemonical name, to save that person. For example, when I give you my number, you ask for my name, the name that you want to use, save the number on your contact list, right? That name you are asking for is something they call in the world of networking DNS, domain name server. We are not going to go into that aspect, but I just want to give you a overview of what IP address does. And as you know that computers, the only language computer understand is zeros and ones, right? Computer doesn't know anything about English, so it only understands digits, zeros and ones. So IP address is the way a computer communicates with one another. Is the way they know that, for example, if you pick up your phone now, you've connected to internet and you want to go to facebook.com on your phone. The way the Facebook server, we know where the request is coming from is through the IP address, and we actually need the IP address to establish a communication. We are going to get there. Please, if you are confused, I would like you to interrupt me so that I can ask your question. Please, Gbemisola, are you here? I don't think she is. Okay, let me continue. All right, let me go back. So this CMD command prompt, I'm going to show you my IP address now. The command to type is ipconfig/all. ipconfig/all. Can you see the command? Please say I if you can see the my screen.
Hi, sir.
All right. So that is the command to type, and it will display the current IP of my machine, which is local IP. We have public and private IP, but the one that I want to show you now is the same thing, the one we saw in that diagram, which is this. Don't mind all this. I also have the one we are going to be focusing on is this. Is this particularly this Ethernet? This is for virtual bus. We are not going to be discussing that now. This is one we are going to be focusing on. This particular one, the highlighted one. As you can see, I have default gateway. First of all, you can see IPv4 address. This is my IPv4 address, the one we saw in that diagram, which is 192.168.42.87. If you check yours too, you will see it. We also have default gateway. Default gateway is synonymous to router, right? So I just want to show you, this is not the object or objective of this course, because I presume that you must have known all of these basic stuff. So let me quickly go back. This is just my IP address, the one I want to show you. I need this, my computer need this to communicate out, to access the internet. And as I said, this is a private IP address, which is local IP address. Facebook doesn't know this thing that it exists. It can only be it is connected locally on my system. Let me quickly go back to that diagram to further explain what I meant. As you can see, we have 192.168.0.011. This is network ID. 192.168 is a network ID, and we have 0.101 subnet ID, which is to show you that whenever I start with 192.168, you can see the second computer. Let's say this is laptop 1. You can see laptop, desktop, computer 1, computer 2, printer, which is computer 3, PlayStation, computer 4, smartphone, computer 5, and desktop again. We have computer 6. So you can see that all of them, they all start with 192.168, 192.168, 192.168, 192.168, which shows that they are locally connected to the same network. For example, if you have what is it called, router in your home, you can connect as many systems or many computers to it. They will all share the same network ID, which starts with 192.168. So that is what we are seeing here. This is just the definition of computer network. And this internet service provider simply means the network you are using. For example, in our country here, most of the popular network we use to connect or that we subscribe on for is either Glo, Airtel, all those network providers. That is the simple definition of internet service provider. So, which, as I said, we have two types of IP address. As you can see here, we have public IP address and private IP address. This private is the one I showed you earlier on my computer, and as you can see here, it is locally known to all these connected computers. All these connected computers is locally known. Internet outside network doesn't know that this IP address exists. So I'm going to show you how to get your your private IP address. But before I get to that, as you can see, we know that we can connect our phone to our home router, is either by Wi-Fi or net cable. This, you can see the line. It shows that it is connected through Ethernet. You can see Ethernet, which is the same thing as cable. And you can connect through Wi-Fi, through Ethernet, through Wi-Fi. So let me show you how to get your public IP address. This public IP address is the way they know. And let me still go back, because I still want to presume that you've known the basic of network. Internet that we are talking about is the outside. For example, facebook.com is an internet on its own, where everybody comes from different places to access it, right? So let me show you. If you type to Google what is my IP address, it will show, it will display. You can see this is my, you can see that it's different from the one I showed earlier. You can see, let me open that again. You can see 192.168. This is local, also known as private IP address. And let me go back to Google. And this is my internet service provider address, the address that Glo give to me, because I'm using Airtel, right? You can see here internet service provider. You say Airtel Networks. Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this is my private public IP address, the address that I'm using to communicate with the internet. So let's proceed, because that is not even the focal of our objective today. So we are going to be discussing three-way handshake. For the sake of people that are just joining us, what we shall be covering today is understanding TCP/IP, understanding three-way handshake, understanding program, service, and ports. And we are going to be learning about port scanning. All these terms may sound gibberish to you, but just open your heart and and be curious as we go along in the course. You are going to see, because we are going to be practicing very soon. I will still stop all the theory and explanation I'm giving. We are going to be diving fully into practicality aspect of it. So understanding TCP/IP. So we've defined what network simply means. What is the three-way handshake process? Before we do that, let's search Google for the meaning of TCP/IP and OSI model. Before I go to the picture, let me quickly show you the definition of what this means. If you go to Google and type OSI model, you will see here, I won't go fully into it, but let me just show you. It said the open system interconnection model is a conceptual model that describes the universal standard of communication function of a telecommunication system or computing system without any regard to the system underlying the internal technology and specific protocol suites. That's still, it's still sounding high, right? Let me give you image of it so that it will further break down the definition. As you can see here, sorry, I think I have the image of my system locally. Let me show you from here. So let me widen this. Please, can you still see it? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir.
All right. This breakdown of what OSI model simply means. The way computer networking is devised, from hardware up to firmware. We discussed about hardware last week. Hardware up to firmware, from firmware to operating system level, and from operating system level to applications that are running on that OS. All of these, they are interconnected in some way. And this diagram you are seeing before you actually simplify. It breaks down what those things is meant for. So you can see physical layer. We have data link layer, we have network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, and application layer. I won't go deep. I would like you to do your own research and learn about this, because I'm assuming that you've known about networking. This is not I'm just digressing into this, right? So the scope or the key responsibilities of all this layer: physical layer, which is encoding and signaling, physical data transmission, hardware, specification, topology, and design. The one we are to be discussing, which where TCP and IP falls to, it's layer 4, this transport layer. You can see the key responsibility of that is the process level addressing, multiplexing and demultiplexing, connections, segmentation and reassembly, acknowledgement and retransmission flow control. You still may not understand all these terms now, but just open your heart still and don't shut your heart to learn. Still open your heart as we proceed further in the course. When we start to practicalize this, it will, you begin to understand. You can see here also the data types. We have datagram and segment. So I just want to show you the function of all this. You know, TCP, as we are going to be learning, is a process by which a connection is established. Let me go back so that we can. We are going to be seeing what is three-way handshake process. Three-way handshake process is defined set of steps that takes place in the TCP for creating a secure and reliable communication link and also closing it. I want to ask a question at this point. Has anybody heard about TCP? The full meaning of TCP is Transmission Control Protocol, and IP means Internet Protocol. I want to ask a question. Have you heard about this term before? If you have, kindly respond in the channel, please. I want you to respond. Or if you haven't, just say no. Unmute yourself and say no. Hello?
No.
All right. All right, good. So actually, let me continue. TCP uses the three-way handshake process to establish a connection between two devices before transmitting the data. After the establishment of the connection, the data transfer takes place between the devices, after which the connection needs to be terminated, which is also done by using the three-way handshake process. The secure and reliable connection is established to reserve the CPU, buffer, and bandwidth of the device to communicate properly. You are going to see all those in this slide. Thus, it is a must to free these resources by terminating the connection after data transmission. Hence, the TCP three-way handshake process can be used to establish and terminate connections in the network in a secure manner. Let me proceed. This is TCP header. If you don't understand what TCP header means, but I will still proceed. As I said earlier, we are going to be seeing all those. We are going to be seeing it. Can you still hear me, please?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we are going to be seeing it in the when it's time for practice. So I'm also going to proceed. As you can see, these are the TCP header, and below is the pictorial representation of the TCP header. They are 32 bits in number. We have source port, destination port, sequence number, acknowledgement number. So I'm defining what those things are here now. You can see there are a few elements in the TCP header file which are used in three-way handshake process. They are: one, sequence number. Sequence number is a random 32 bits in the range of 32 bits number, which is assigned to the first bit of the data. Generally, a sequence number is used only once in one connection. Number two is acknowledgement number. It is the next sequence number that the acknowledgement sending device expects from the sender. It is generally greater than the sequence number received from the sender. We also have SYN flag. SYN stands for synchronization. It can be described as a request for establishing a connection. If SYN is 1, it means that the device wants to establish a secure connection, else not. We also have ACK flag, which stands for acknowledgement. It can be described as the response of SYN. If ACK is 1, the device has received the SYN message and acknowledgement, else not. We also have FIN flag, which stands for finish. After the data transmission has been completed, devices have to terminate the connection using the FIN flag. If FIN is 1, the device wants to terminate the connection, else not. Now, all that I've been saying thus far, let me quickly give you a picture of it in real world terms. The things that we are mostly likely familiar with. For example, when you pick up your phone and you want to call your friend, right? As you pick up your phone, you call your friend. This thing is something that we do almost every time we are calling or we are on a call. the first thing we have to say is hello. And the reason why we are saying hello is to make certain that the third party or the recipient of our call is actually available. You know, when I, for example, like myself, let me assume that I want to call my friend and I pick up my phone and I call him, and the first thing I will say is hello, and he will also respond with hello. You see that two signal is, it let us know that there is an establishment of connection. Just imagine that as I pick up the call, or as my friend is calling me, and I just pick up the call, and I just started to, or maybe as I'm calling my friend rather, and I didn't know whether he's there, but I just started to I just start the conversation without first of all establishing connection, in the sense that whether he is there, by confirming my response with hello. I hope that time, you know, I'm trying to break this down to something that we are mostly familiar with so that we can understand. So when we are saying hello, and when the recipient reply with hello, that means that we have established a connection between one another. And from there, we have built a tunnel. I want you to see that as a tunnel, a pipe by which we can now start our conversation. That is what TCP three-way handshake is. And this is the fundamental protocol that is used on the networking, you know, on the internet for anything that you are doing, whether you are browsing the internet, whether you are, you know, you are using mobile bank, what is it called, mobile app, bank mobile app for transaction, financial transaction, whether you are educational, anything that you are doing on the internet. Those are the things we must first establish a connection between client and the server. Right. So, okay. I want to proceed now. This is the pictorial representation of the connection. What I just said earlier, this is the image representation so that I can reinforce or further clarify the terms of what I'm trying to say. You can see here, this is client, this is you. Now, let's say this is Olumide, and you are to access Facebook server. You want to go to facebook.com. This is their server. First thing that it does, even though you are not seeing all these things, it is being done, you know, as I said, you can't see it. They call it protocol, and we are going to be seeing it using a tool called Wireshark. It's a protocol analyzer tool to see, you know, even as you are online on this meeting now, there are traffic that your, what is it called? As you are connected to this Google team, Microsoft team, and as I'm speaking, there are some traffic that is passing through your wire. If you are using Wi-Fi at your home, or you are using your hotspot, whatever thing that you are using, or Ethernet cable, there are traffics that are passing through that wire or cables, but you can't see it. There's a tool called Wireshark, which is protocol analyzer tool. We are going to be using that to see all those traffics that are passing, that by which we can see with our, you know, with our physical eye. We are going to be using that very soon. So, but here now we can see clients. This is Olumide, and he wants to access facebook.com, which is the server here. What your computer will first try to do is to, first of all, establish a connection through a process known as TCP three-way handshake. It first of all sends SYN. You know, we saw earlier the definition of SYN. It sends SYN flag. SYN stands for synchronization. It can be described as a request for establishing a connection. Can you see? It can be described as a request for establishing a connection. You know, your machine send a SYN flag to the server, and when the server receive it, it send a SYN, you know, it append means addition, this plus sign you can see here. It append that SYN with an acknowledgement. In other words, when I say hello, and when the recipient of my call now say hello back, that means we have established a connection. You know, we can now say yes, we are on the same page. So it send the SYN arc, and the server also send, now in this case facebook.com also send SYN arc back to you, which is the client, and client now send acknowledgements. Now let's look at the definition of acknowledgements, which is arc flag. Arc stand for acknowledgement. It can be described as the response of SYN. If arc is 1, the device has received the SYN message and acknowledgement, else not. So that means the server we are trying to contact is ready, is available. It will now, you know, let me check. I think there is a waiting. Somebody is waiting in the room to join. So it sent what is it called? This okay, it sent this arc. As I said, it's just acknowledge means now we are available to give you the service you are asking for. It's like we are creating a tunnel by which a pipe by which a water will be flowing through, and I want to see that water as a conversation you want to be having, right? But there is a need need for us to first of all create that tunnel that we are going to be conversing, transporting our conversation through. So that is what TCP three-way handshake does. And as I said earlier, it applies to everything that is technology inclined. Whether you are solving the web, whether you are banking on your mobile app, whether you are transferring money, we first of all need to establish a connection. With that, there's a need for client to establish a connection with the server before we can now begin to start. So this time around, we are going to, as I said earlier, we are going to be practicing. And to start that, in the first session, I don't know how many of you have downloaded the link I shared to you on Discord when I said you should to follow to install your Kali Linux and what is it called? Yes, Kali Linux and VirtualBox. Please, if you have done that, can you say yes? Let me hear you. Confirm if you have done that. But yeah, I want to start my Kali Linux machine here. I will also start this another machine, which I will also recommend that you download. But before I do that, it may be after today's session. I want to please confirm if you have installed Kali Linux on your system.
Can we quickly download it now, sir?
Oh, it's something that you have to. It's an assignment that you can't do it now because if you okay, or do you need a process to do it? I can quickly walk you through it, but you won't download it now because I'm so certain that I think the Kali Linux ISO file is 4 gig RAM. Sorry, 4 gigabytes. I think. Let me check. Let me go to Google and see. So this is the site you will download the Kali Linux from. But before you do that, I said there's a need for you to first of all download what is it called, virtualization software. In this case, VirtualBox, virtualbox.com. When you get to that site, you can see, no, sorry, not .com, .org. So this is it. This is where you download it from rather. So if you are using Windows, I think this is it. If you are using Mac OS, you can when you click this download VirtualBox, it will bring the option whether it is for Windows. If it is for Windows host, this is what you will download. If you are using Mac OS, Apple laptop, this is the one you will download. If you are using Linux, most likely sure is either you are using Windows or Mac OS. So choose the one for your operating system and download. And after you've downloaded that, it will install by itself. You now, just follow the video. That is the reason why I gave it as an assignment for you guys to do, right? So follow the video. This is where you will download Kali Linux OS from, right? If you follow the video, you will see what I'm saying there. So this is not the focus of today's course. Let me go back to my Kali Linux. It's still loading actually. So any question? While that is opening, do you have any question? And after today also, this is another machine. When we get to web application session, I think that is the focus of next week class. And I want to urge you not to miss that class, because this is where we'll be talking about web application, and you know, I don't want to give you the what you'll be expecting now, but make sure to stay around for the class, for the session. This is the machine we'll be using to. I'm going to be using it today also, but majorly next week we are going to be needing this for web application practice. So I will still use it for today too. So this is my Kali, it's still loading, and this is the second machine I started. It is called Metasploit Table 2. It is a vulnerable web service rather. Like, for example, web application rather, it is a vulnerable, it is deliberately made to be vulnerable for practicing. Because as I said last week, if you hack into any organization without obtaining right first, if you get caught, you will be sanctioned, right? Even though here in Nigeria, it is called cyber criminal. So there is a need for you to get authorized to do those things. If you didn't, if you haven't authorized, if you have not been authorized to hack on such organization, if you get caught, there is probability that you will be sanctioned. So this web Metasploitable 2 is deliberately made for practice purpose. So let me quickly log in. Let me minimize that. We are not using that one now. What we are to be using now is Kali Linux. You know, the practice of what we want to check now is Wireshark. What is it called? Wireshark, right? So we are going to be using Wireshark to see TCP three-way handshake in operation. That's what we are going to be doing now. Can you see my screen? Please confirm if you can see my screen.
Yes, sir, we can see it. We can
All
see
right.
it.
So let me quickly open up to give you a brief summary or a brief introduction of what the tool is for. I'm opening up it. This man stands for manual, right? Manual of Wireshark. Let me open it up so that we can learn, know the simple terms of what is for Wireshark. As you can see, interactively dump and analyze network traffic. You know, I said earlier that anything you are doing on the internet, there are traffic, unseen traffic that you can't see with your physical eye. We need a tool to capture those traffic and analyze it. And one of the tools, in fact, the de facto tools that security that is widely used in the world of security is Wireshark. So we are going to be, let me close the manual and dive into what we want to show today. So let me open it up. So let me, while that is opening, I want to show you my IP address. We talked a little bit about IP in when we started. So IP, the command to check IP on this is Linux-based operating system. As I said last week, is totally different from Windows. The command to check my IP address here is different from the one I showed earlier. So let me check my IP address. The command to use is ifconfig. As you can see, this is my IP address because you can see here 10.02.15. It's also a local IP address. This is my IP address. So let me also open a web browser to go to facebook.com or something like that. So Wireshark has started. This is what is it called? The GUI, graphical user interface of Wireshark. So the where I'm going to be capturing from, even though I may not, I'm not here to introduce what Wireshark is for, but I just want to use it for the purpose of this course. So if you are, I'm going to include in the additional resources how to what Wireshark does, you know, how to get familiar with basic use of it. But in this course, you can see these two things that is wavy in nature, right? While this one are two straight line. These two thing shows that there is traffic passing on this interface. This ETO0 is an interface, and this is the interface which my network is connected to. As you can see, you can see my address, right? It shows 10.0. So we are going to be capturing on this interface. So let me start the capturing and click here to start it. So it's currently capturing all the traffic that is going through my network devices on this system, on my phone, on all the devices that are connected to the network that I'm using. You can see that it's capturing all the traffic. So let me go to facebook.com and see the process of TCP three-way handshake that we discussed thus far. So let me go to facebook.com. So this is facebook.com. You know, I said earlier, before we can engage with any service on the internet, there is the need for us, first of all, to establish a connection. Please, I want you to confirm, is my face showing there? Can you see my face?
Yes, sir.
My screen also is showing, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this facebook.com, as I was saying, there's a need for us to first of all create a tunnel. I want to see that tunnel as a pipe borne bore water. That pipe that we are mostly familiar with, that pipe, I want to see it as that pipe. And you know, then for that pipe, what pipe is, the end goal of the pipe is to allow the flowing of water, right? So also this TCP we are talking about is like that pipe, right? So there is a need first of all for that pipe to be in place for water to flow from one end to another. So in this case, there is a need for us first of all for that TCP protocol to establish a connection between client and server. In this case, my machine, my browser here that I used to go to facebook.com and facebook.com server. You know, facebook.com server is not on my system, it's on the internet, right? Whereby everybody can have access to. So that is what TCP, but as I said, you can't see it. It doesn't show it here, but you know, we have started the capture, we have started the capture, what is it called, protocol on my network interface, and it's currently capturing all the traffic. So let me go back, and you can see it has captured all the traffic. Let me minimize, let me bring this down so that you can see. But what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to stop the capturing. This red symbol is where I will stop it. Can you still see my screen? I'm broadening it now. So I'm going to stop capturing packets. We need to first of all stop that so that I can sort the packet that I'm looking for. So I will press this red button, I've stopped it. So there's a filter that I will apply that will quickly sort out TCP, every TCP connection, TCP. So you can see now, let me bring this down. So you can see we have this is TCP protocol, and it's displaying all the TCP. You know, we saw earlier that first of all, it will send, this is my source IP address, which is my computer here. You know, I showed you earlier. Let me show you again. IP config 10.0.2.15, which is local. This is the IP address that I'm using to go through to Facebook, right? So you can see now the destination IP address is 93.184. You know, I told you earlier that computer doesn't understand English. The only language it understands is zeros and ones. That's why you can see here this 93.184.220.29 is synonymous to facebook.com. I will show you. So to show you, let me go back to my terminal. And to get, let me clear this screen first. So let me get the IP address of facebook.com. As we've seen earlier in Wireshark output, you can see 102.132.101.35. This is an IP address of facebook.com. You know, it's a big organization, so they have diverse. There's something called content management system, whereby you can use it to host all your web service locally, region local. For example, in Africa, they have an IP address that is assigned to Africa, so that for load balancing sake, if you are familiar with web development. So let me go back. I want to use this number now to go back to. Let me go back to my main machine. You can see that I'm typing 102.132.101, and it will resort automatically to facebook.com. I'll press enter, as you can see. So it resolved back to facebook.com. You can see, as I was saying earlier, is either you use, but just imagine that for human being to be remembering all this number is tedious, it's difficult, right? That is why they create something called DNS, domain name server, for mnemonic purpose. Not mnemonic means a name that human being can easily remember. Just imagine that all the contacts on your phone, you have to be remembering them by their digit number and not by name. It will be difficult. So this number also it will translate to facebook.com. So that is what IP in this case. But let me go back to TCP handshake that we are seeing, that we are trying to analyze the output. So you can see we have TCP. This is my source IP address. This 93.184 is still the same Facebook IP address, right? So this is the TCP handshake that we are talking about. The length of it is 54, the info. Now, this 80 that we are seeing, we are going to get to that place in this course. It is known as ports, right? This is 80. We are going to get there, but what that simply means that my computer open a port 60.260 to access this protocol known as, if you are a little bit familiar with networking, every service that runs on the internet has a port. We are going to get to the definition of it, but just go along with me. You can see the ARC acknowledge scan that this guy is saying. No, this is not the start of it actually. Let me check. Let me see. It should start from sin. So you can see here, this is it. This one that my cursor is on. This is it here. So this is my local IP address. This is Facebook. You can see now 1.2.132. This is Facebook IP address here, the one we saw earlier. So this is TCP protocol, and it's accessing it on port 443, which is HTTPS. So it send a SYN ACK. We said earlier that it first of all send a SYN ACK, right? And as it send a SYN ACK, Facebook now respond. You can see here that first of all, the source IP address here is my own, and the second one, which is this one that my cursor is on now, the source IP address has changed to Facebook's source IP address, and it's responding with a SYN ACK, synchronization and acknowledgement, which in other words, I want to access, for example, let me break it down in a simple layman time. I want to access facebook.com, and Facebook is saying, okay, here am I for you. So that is when it send this SYN ACK. It respond with this SYN ACK, and me now in the third this acknowledge that you are seeing, I'm now saying, okay, since you are ready, I'm also ready to establish a connection. That's when this three-way handshake. That's why it is called three-way handshake. It's the way by which a connection is established, right? So you can see we are not going to go immediately after those three-way handshake is complete. There's a protocol called TLS. TLS simply means transport layer security. If you go to, for example, now let me go back to my main If you type HTTPS, you can see now HTTPS. This is what they call web protocol, right? This HTTP is a web protocol. You know, Facebook Data Access is a web application itself. Is a web protocol. You see this X that is there. That is what they call TLS. What that means is for security, transport layer security. So we are not going to get into that. I'm just giving a brief what's it called? What that simply stands for. Immediately this three-way handshake completes. Now, you know, I said earlier that it's like a pipe. When that pipe is connected from one end to another, now we can now begin to transfer water. Water can now begin to flow. So now in our own time now, we have established the connection through the process known as three-way handshake. We can now, this TLS, like that HTTP I showed you earlier, I can now begin to do whatever I want to do on network, on Facebook server, on So that is just it. Let me swipe this up. And these are I'm going to give you a resource to learn more about this, but this is just what I want to show you here. The reason I'm showing this is because it's necessary. It's critical that we understand this for further for something we are going to be looking into now, ports service. Because if you don't understand this thing, we may get confused. That is the reason why I deliberately include this TCP. Right. So let me go back to my slide. So any question? Any question? Do you have any question to ask? Or if you can still hear me, I want you to say hi. Unmute yourself and say hi. I have Faromi Olumide, Dada Yanoluwa, Abdulazim.
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
We can hear you, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
Hello,
So
sir.
I can hear you too. Let me continue now. Thank you. So our next phase of study is network terms and definition, right? As I said earlier, it's necessary that we understand this TCP. Even though you haven't understood yet, I want you to do your further research. It's simple to understand, right? So we are going to go into network and terms and definition. We have programs. Programs or service are the logical way networking traffic goes into and out of the machine. Programs or service are the logical way networking traffic goes into and out of the machine. We have a service too. A service is a program. Don't get confused with the playing of words with the terms. Don't get confused. So just follow. That's why I wrote this down so that you can see. Just follow me as I'm reading it. A service is a program that runs in the background, independent of logon. Now, the next term is the way into and out of a program. The way into and out of a program or service is through a logical port, which is simply a number found in either TCP or UDP. The TCP or UDP header that identifies the program or service that the data is sourced from and destined for. That is what is known as port. Definition of port. That's why I italize it here. Port. We saw the example of ports. Every services that runs, we have HTTPS, which is web service, web protocol rather. We have FTP, file transfer protocol. We have SSH, secure shell, which it runs on port 22. FTP runs on port 21. What is it called? Port 80, which is HTTP, but it is web service protocol too, but it's insecure, right? It is not secure. So that's why we have HTTPS. And HTTPS runs on port 443. So those are, don't think of port as the physical port on your computer. No, they are logical numbers that is attached, that where computer can easily identify that this is now let me bring it down again. If you are staying in an apartment, a residential apartment, right? Let's say 10 of you guys are staying in that residential apartment. When you have your block, you are living in a block 1 of that residential apartment, and there is a mail that is coming to you. that is coming to that apartment, the way they will know where to deliver that mail, maybe in this case letter, physical letter, is through a mailbox. Maybe there is a mailbox room in that residential apartment, whereby everybody that if you are not around, when you come back, maybe you travel, but when you come back, a mailbox that is attached with your number, you can easily go there and check if you have any message. The way they will know where to deliver. You guys, let's say 10 of you are staying in the same building. You are living in block 1, another person far on me is living in block 2, I am living in block 3, but you are expecting a letter or a mail from somebody. The way they will know where to deliver that mail is through a mailbox, which will identify your number, right? So in this case now, they will know that they will not deliver the mail that is meant for you to my own mailbox, which is number 2, if your number is number 1. So that is what port number. That main number is something like port number, right? The address of that house that you are staying is what they call IP address, the one we saw earlier. Because both of these things, we need it. Those are the things that that made up networking. We need our MAC. I haven't even discussed our MAC address, but go on ahead yourself and do a research. MAC address, we have IP address and port number. Those things is what we use to track traffic on the internet, whereby computer will know that this traffic is coming from far on me, this traffic is coming from my computer, this traffic is coming from far on me and it's going to facebook.com. So those are the things we use to track it, which is called port and IP address. So the next term is program or service sent from and listing on a certain port. As I said, I've explained that. Program or service. Program in this case could be, for example, I will quickly show you one example now. I'm running a team application here to stream live discourse. It's actually running on a port because team here is a program, right? And I will show you. Let me quickly show you that. I will open up my computer management as an administrator. So it's opening up, I think. Yeah. So this is my computer management. I will come to where performance is. Open resource monitor. Now, you can see under network. These are the processes. You can see processes with network activity. You can see Teams is using network. And this is a PID. It's just a number for identifiable, but that's not what I want to look at now. You can see under TCP connections. I have Chrome's. You can see I have Chrome running, and it's because I open Chrome. I'm using Chrome. I also have Team. This is the local IP address that I'm using, as I said earlier. And this is the port. You can see that my computer open to be communicating with Teams. And this is what is it called? Remote address of Team. If I should go to this thing, if I manually type this to my web browser, it will result back to Team, which is known, it is owned by Microsoft. And you can see the remote port is 443, which is to tell you that is a web protocol, is HTTPS, So that is what service are. And don't be that's why I said do not be confused with service and programs. Most of the time they mean the same thing. But we are going to be delving into into it fully when we begin to hack, because we are going to be hacking in this course too, into this course. So let me quickly proceed. So as you can see here, port scanning. Port scanning is the method to find what program or service is running on a machine on a machine, once you know what services are running on a machine, you can identify vulnerabilities. If you haven't forgot the last week session we had, I talked about vulnerabilities. Please, I want you to go back to that and learn it yourself. I talk about vulnerabilities. I talk about exploits. You said?
Sir. I said they are codes.
Yes. No, vulnerabilities are loopholes.
Loopholes.
Or bug in a computer system.
Bugs.
Yeah, exploits, they are code that we use to exploit, that we use to take advantage of that vulnerability. That's the meaning of exploit. So first scanning is the method. For example, now, if let me say what is it called? Give me firstbank.com. Firstbank.com.ng has given me access to hack into their organization, right? The way I will start the process, we also saw the cyber keychain last week. The method by which an hacker follows to hack into any organization. The way I will start the process is through information gathering. And I know because their website is publicly available, I can easily go to their work. In this case, I've been authorized they've come to me as a penetration tester to come and find vulnerabilities in their company before a malicious hacker will do, and give them a suggestion on how to remediate such vulnerability. There should have been a legal agreement between us. So I now have the access, I have the right to use every techniques that I know as a hacker to hack into their system. One of the way we do that, when you go back to that last week course again, in cyber keychain, first stage is gathering information about the target. And it is easier this day to gather information because everything is publicly available. I can easily go to firstbank.com.ng, and with the use of tool, I can find service program that are running on that server, on that organization, on that company. And with the use of by that, because service we always listen on a particular port, right? That is what simply means by port scanning. Port scanning is the method to find what program or service is running on a machine. Once I know that HTTP, for example, FTP is running on firstbank.com.ng, I can quickly look on the internet for exploits that is available. Or if there is no exploit available, if I'm an advanced hacker and I know how to code, I can easily find a way to hack into their database. That is, I'm trying to define port scanning here so that we can have a grand understanding of it. So once you know what service are running on a machine, you can identify vulnerabilities for certain service. For each vulnerability, you will find an exploit. Then execute the payload to carry out the attack. Now, we have 3 states by which a port can be. It's either open or closed or filtered. Are you understanding? I think I should practice that. I didn't plan to do it, but let me go back to my Kali. On Kali Linux, let me first of all close this Wireshark. On Kali Linux, it came with a web server, right? Let me quickly go to that place. Before that, let me switch to super user. So you can see I've changed I was in blue before, now I'm in red. That red means I now have administrative rights. I have advanced privilege to do a lot of things. Like the one that was before, it is restricted. So let me go to cd var log. No, sorry. Should not be cd. Let me switch back a little. Okay, cd wwls. You can see I have HTML under that W. I will go to cd HTML and ls. You can see index.html. On Kali Linux, it is pre-installed with a web server, right? And I'm going to start the web server now, and I will practically, if I go to, as I said earlier, if I show you my IP address again, you can see this is my IP address, 10.02.015. If I should copy this address and go to Chrome or Firefox and paste it there, it will not display anything. You can see that unable to connect, right? The reason why it's saying that is because even though I have a web server on this Kali Linux, because the port is closed, I haven't started the web server yet. So even though you try to access it, just imagine it to be a facebook.com, right? And as I said, because facebook.com is a HTTP, or what is it called? A web service. It runs on HTTP or HTTPS, right? So let me start the web server on my Kali now and see. Service start Apache 2. Sorry, please. Okay, this is the correct format. So it's starting the web application. Now it has started. Let me show the status whether it's running or not. You can see active. So now let me go back to it and refresh this page. It's still the same IP address, and refresh it. Sorry. Okay. You can see it now. The reason why it was giving an error before was it was using HTTPS, and as you know, because this is local, I haven't the web server here is not it's not encrypted. It's just HTTP. That's why you can see this red this signal here. In other words, it's showing that it's insecure. Connection is not secure. So when it is HTTPS, as I said earlier, it will be green. The padlock will be green. So this is a web server, right? It's a web server. Why am I showing you this? To let you know that as it's in the definition, I'm trying to define the three states a port can be. Is either it's open, is either it's closed, or is either it's filtered. So we can see here that when it was open, everybody can access it. But when I should, let me go back and stop the service now. This web Apache 2 web server. This web server, I can put anything here, but that's not the focus. I don't want to digress. Let me stop the web server now. And let me check the status again. So it's saying that active, inactive. You can see it's dead. So now let me go back and refresh this page. It will give error. So let me open another. What's happening? It should not be going at all because I've stopped the server. It's inactive. Why is it still loading? Okay, I know what could be the cause. It's trying to the cache. Most of the web browser they will load the cache of the web page, right? If I should open another one now, another browser, let me use Chrome. So while that is opening, so the essence of port scanning is to let us know whether port is open or it is closed. If it is open, we can from there look at the service that is running on it, and as I said earlier, we can from there check the version of the service that is running on it. If it's something that's vulnerable, we can find an exploit and exploit it. and take advantage of that bug and get into an organization machine or a computer. So when it is closed, that means it is closed. And when it is filtered, let me go to the next slide. It says open ports have application or service listing on them. Closed ports don't. For example, if you start Apache Web Server port 80, the one I did earlier, if you start Apache Web Server, port 80 will be open, right? Stop the server, port 80 will be closed, as I showed you earlier. Now, a filter port is either open or closed, but can't be determined because packet filtering, firewall. By the grace of God, next week we are going to be looking at firewall. I said next week, on Thursday, actually. Yes, because the focus of today's lecture is to learn how hacker break into an organization through network, right? And we are going to be looking at the securing aspect of it on Thursday by the use of firewall and some other network security tools. So we are seeing here that a filter port is either open or closed, but can't be determined because packet filtering firewall keeps the scam from getting to the ports. So practice time. And before that, I have a question to ask. Do you have any question to ask? We are going to be practicing, going to practice now. Any question? Hello?
Yeah. What about sir, for those that don't have the tools already and the tools?
Please, I can't hear you clearly. Would you like to speak louder?
Yeah, I said for those that don't have the tools, the software.
Oh, okay. That's why I said you should try. Do you have a laptop?
Yes, I have a laptop, sir.
Is is it 64-bit OS?
Yes, it's 64 bits.
Go to Discord channel.
Wi-Fi.
Thank you. It is if it is Core i5, it is perfectly able to run all the software you have been using thus far. Go to that Discord
Yeah.
channel. Go to Discord channel. I've pasted the link to where you can download VirtualBox and Kali Linux from. So
Okay,
please
sir.
do it. Yes, do it. And when you've installed it, and you can review this, rewatch this lecture and practice along. Thank
Okay,
you.
sir. Thank you, sir.
So I'm going to we are going to be practicing now. What I've learned we've discussed thus far may, without getting our hands dirty with it, it may not become clear. So we are going to, let me close all this first. So first of all, let me go back to the slide. Introduction to Nmap. Right, Nmap. Let me check Google for you so you can see what Nmap stands for. That is a network mapping tool. You can see from definition here. Nmap is a network scanner created by Gordon Leon. Nmap is used to discover hosts and services on a computer network by sending packets and analyzing the responses. Nmap provides a number of features for probing computer networks, including host discovery and service and operating system detection. So that is just what the tool is. A tool actually, and it's pre-installed on Kali Linux, right? So before, I will also open a manual for us to see it here. Let me clear the screen first. As you can see, Nmap simply means network exploration tool and security port scanner. Nmap, which is network mapper, is an open source tool. Open source means free, something that is free, not commercial. Open source tool for network exploration and security auditing. It was designed to rapidly scan large networks, although it works fine against single hosts. Nmap uses raw IP packets in novel ways to determine what hosts are available on the network, what services, application name and version. those hosts are offering, what operating system and OS version, which is OS version they are running, what type of packets, filters, firewall are in use, and dozens of other characteristics. While Nmap is commonly used for security audits, many systems and network administrators find it useful for routine tasks such as network inventory, managing service upgrade schedule, and monitoring host or service uptime. That is just a grand introduction to what Nmap is. The machine we are going to be hacking is Metasploitable. The second machine I started earlier. Just this is as you can see, is an operating system on its own. This machine you are seeing here, the one my cursor is on, is an operating system, right? Now, just I want you to be thinking along. Just imagine it as a, let's say this is a First Bank web server, right? You know, as I said earlier, for you to hack into any organization, you must be authorized to do that. If you are not, you are hacking illegally. So when you are when you get caught, or if you get caught, you will face the consequence of the action, which is it's most likely not palatable. So in this case, we are going to be using a vulnerable web application known as Metasploitable 2. I will also include the links. I will post the link on Discord on how to get this on your system. It can, it can be stored on the same this virtual bus here. You can see it here. I have Kali Linux running. I have Metasploit running. I can install as many. I can even use. I have Windows 11 on my system. I can install it here, and yes, still be running. I'm running Windows 10 as my main OS. Let me show you my screen. This is Windows 10, as you can see. But I can install as many. It depends on the capacity of your computer, right? As many OS you want on this virtual bus. So let me show you this this Metasploitable. I want to show list my IP address. As I said, it's a Kali Linux based operating system. So is to list the IP address of this one is the command is different from Windows own. So if config, as you can see on 8080, I'm on inet address. You can see inet address. It is 10.0.2.4. You can see. So let me go back to Kali also and list that IP address. You can see on ETA0, inet address is 10.0.215, which, I told you earlier that if they both start with 10.0, which means they are on the same network, right? If you check your phone, if you are using a home router or you have a Wi-Fi and you've connected your laptop to it, you've connected your phone to it, they will both start with these two 10.0, because that is a network ID, and 2.15 is a host ID. In other words, this is peculiar to that particular machine, but this is peculiar to the network they are connecting to. So that's why they both start with 10.0.2.15. So as I said earlier, this is a web server, right? And on it, there is a web application running. If I should go to 10.0.24 on Kali Linux machine now, you will see what I'm saying. 10.0.24. Let me check that IP again. 10.0.24. So let me go to it. It will show the application that are running. You can see this Metasploitable. And in the subsequent class, when we come to web application hacking, this is what we'll be using. We have Multilide. This is a web application. We have a damn vulnerable web application. We have WebDAV, but I will just stop there. So not to digress from, you can see it's like Facebook.com is a web application, right? But we are not getting to that today. So our focus today is to the use of Nmap to scan this particular machine called Metasploitable 2 for vulnerability, and not only that, to actually exploit that vulnerability. So let me clear the screen. Let me run Nmap. Following the last week, we talked about cyber kill chain enumeration. We have known that our server, our target is running on 10.0.24. How do I get that? Just imagine that this 10.0.24, let me say the target we are hacking is facebook.com. You know, I showed you earlier how to get the IP address. You will just use command called ping. Ping is type facebook.com, right? You press Ctrl C. This is the IP address here, right? With this IP address now, I can give this to Nmap to scan, right? And which is the same as this one that we want to look like, we want to scan now. So 10.0.24 is the target we are going to be scanning today, which is this damn vulnerable web application, Nmap 10.0.2.4. So Nmap is scanning it. Can you see it? It has scanned the target. So let me quickly read it. You can see the port number. These are the results. We have ports, we have states. The state, you know, we said earlier that the state, a port can be is either open or closed. When it is open, that means that service is available on that machine. When it is closed, that means it is not available. When it is filtered, that means we cannot detect whether it is open or closed because there is a security firewall that is blocking the traffic, which is good for security purpose. So TCP, this is example of port TCP, which is FTP. As I said earlier, it runs on port 21. Port 22 is SSH, secure shell. It runs on port 22. Port 23 is telnet. Is a form of SSH too, but SSH is secure. This one is not secure. We have SMTP, port 25. DNS, domain name server, it runs on port 53. So those are the things that are running here, right? Now, how can an hacker deduce from here that what to hack? You know, this alone, we have identified that on that computer now FTP is running, SSH is running, SSH service is running, HTTP is running. But with this now, we need to still proceed further by looking at a command. I think this is, I don't want to, let me reduce so that, so with this now, let me first of all output the help of Nmap. You can see, no, sorry, please, let me clear this. I want the screen to, let me pipe it into less. You can see Nmap, I'm trying to output the usage of it. Target specification. Is either we pass, this is what they call host name, right? Host name, like facebook.com. Facebook.com is an host name. When it is called IP address, like this one, this is what they call IP address. You can pass, these are, you know, target specification to discover whether host discovery is alive. You know, all of this, I'm going to include the resources for you to learn about it when you know, to get yourself familiar. But for the sake of time, because this course is, this is 309. For the sake of time, let me proceed. Let me clear it and quickly Nmap n.0.2.4 -sv. What this command will do is that it will list the version of service that are running, because we need the version. That is why updating your system is so important. For example, if you are using Facebook version 10.01, right, and that 10.01 is vulnerable to a particular exploit, and you have not updated and Facebook has released a patch. You know, we studied about patch also last week, a fix to a bug. Facebook has remedied that bug, and they have released a new update version of Facebook application, but you haven't upgraded it, or you haven't applied the patch to your system. And if a computer gets hold of your computer, if a malicious hacker or get hold of your computer and you are still running on the vulnerable version of Facebook, you know, you can be easily get attacked. So I'm going to scan for version of all the service that is running. Right, so let's see. And while that is opening, let me split my this thing here. my terminal. Before I do so, can you see my screen? Hello?
Yes, I can see your screen.
And it's clear. You
Yeah,
can
it's
see.
clear, sir. No,
All
you
right.
can make it bold, sir, and increase. Hello, sir.
Hello, guys.
Hello, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
Can you please
I can hear you, sir.
just hold on for me, please. My my computer just is plugged to live. Maybe it's because that's overcharged. That's why it went off. And it's saying battery is low. I'm booting it up now. Sorry, just hold on. Bemi, I don't know if Bemi is there, so I can pause this recording. Hello. Sorry. Apologies. So now, so Olumide, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
Sorry for what happened. I didn't actually, I can't say precisely what is happening now. So let's get back. As you can see, this is the version, right, of all the version of all the service that is running, like FTP now, which is SFTP daemon. D here stand for service, which is 2.2.3 for version 2.3.4. We have OpenSSH. So when an hacker is getting hold of this information now, what he can quickly does is, you guys, is either he copy this particular thing, this version here. I'm trying to copy it now. I don't know why it's jumping again. Let me clear it and rescan it. Then 10.0.2.4 dash. So it's scanning now. While that is going on, let me split my terminal, because there is a Metasploit framework which contains all known exploits out there. So I will just open that. I won't be going to deeply into that. So while that is opening, let me go back to Nmap here. You can see Nmap. We have version that are running FTP 2.3.4. Sorry, let me shift this. So now an hacker can easily copy this and go to Google and just search for an exploit that is already known. If I should type this and type exploit for this, you can see it will tell you that there is an exploit that has been made to exploit this vulnerability. So those are the ways. But actually, in Kali Linux, as I said, Kali Linux is an hacking tools. It came pre-installed with a known exploit for every particular vulnerability that is out there. So one of the way we can do that is to search Google, or either you go through this Kali Linux Metasploit is opening. This one that is opening here, let it open, let it load finish. This is the one that we are going to be using to search. What I'm going to do now is, it has loaded fully, right? I hope you can see it. Can you see it? All right. So I'm just going to this is it on my right hand side. This one, this is MSF console. I'm going to search for. I'm just going to search for this particular service I have copied from the output of Nmap. You can see it outputs some exploits. You can see we have 0 exploit. This thing, it is an exploit to exploit this particular vulnerability. The command that I'm just going to type is to use that particular exploit. Is either I can type this one fully, or I can use the number here. I will just say use 0. So it will automatically show that. So it's asking me for payload. So what I'm going to just do is, first of all, let me clear my screen so that the thing can come up a little bit. So I will just type option to list all the options. I think yes, options. So to list, you can see arrows. I'm going to give the IP address of this particular machine that I have scanned the vulnerability from. Host remote host is simply asking for the IP address. The port, it is fixed automatically, which is port 21. So I'm just going to say set. Let me clear it. Let me minimize this so that I can see the screen. Okay, set host 10.0.02.4. This particular IP address is the IP address of this machine here. This particular machine, this Metasploitable machine, it is not the Kali Linux IP address. So I'm just going to click enter. So it has set it. Let me see the options again. You can see it has filled the arrows for me. Everything is set. Everything is set. So I will now just run a command to exploit that particular vulnerability. Let me clear the screen so I can come up. I'll just say run. So it is trying to get into this, but it has found share. So let me just wait. Now is in. I hope you can still see my screen. Now we have successfully exploit this particular machine here. We have gained access into this particular machine, web server here. And for me to, I'm going to show you that we have done that. I'm going to say, who am I? Who am I? It says root, right? I'm actually running this command from, I've gained access to this second machine here, and I'm running a command from Aka's machine, which is Kali Linux. So I'm going to list pwd to print present working directory. For you to see that this thing is working, so that I will not get confused, I will go to this particular machine. Let me go there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to let me list the content. It says vulnerable, right? So in this part, I'm going to first of all go cd change directory to opt. In this particular directory, I'm going to list. There is nothing here. This ls command that I'm typing is simply means list current directory. In that opt, there is nothing there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a directory called this is aka. I'm going to call it aka, right? For the sake of okay, it's asking for that I need admin right to do that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to run the same command, but I'm going to append sudo to it. Sudo means it's asking me for password msf at sorry. Let me list again. You can ls make. I want to make directory here so that we can see file exists. Okay, dash la. ls now it has created the hacker. This is a machine. I'm actually operating this from another computer. It has created a what is it called? A directory called hacker, and in that directory, I'm going to just type some, create some test file. The reason for doing this so as to access it from this Kali Linux machine, so that you can see that truly I've gained access to this computer. So I'm just going to create a test file called aka.txt. So, I will say you have been hacked. Stay cool. The reason I'm doing this is so that you can see truly that we've gained access into this computer. I'm just going to save this, Oh, I still need permission access also. Let me exit from this. So to do that, I still need root access. Let me use sudo command. You have been Stay cool. So let me list that in again. You can see that we have aka.txt. Let me list cat aka.txt to list the content. You have been nagged. Stay cool. Now let me go back to aka's machine. This is my machine here, right? I'm going to practically go to that. We create that file in opt directory. I'm going to cd into opt. I'm going to ls. You can see we have aka and aka.txt, and I'm going to list the content of aka.txt. Cat aka.txt. You have been hacked. Stay cool. So you can see the way we've gained access to a vulnerable computer. Even though we've done it locally, this is the same thing that can be done globally. That can be done outside a local network like this. So this is the use, what is it called, of network, a brief introduction to network mapper, such as what is it called, Nmap, to find a vulnerable service that is running on a program or a service. And we now use MSF Metasploitable, a Metasploitable 2, which is a vulnerable machine that we test on, and we also use Metasploitable framework, which is MSF console here, which contains all the known exploit for particular vulnerability to exploit that particular bug on this machine. So that is it for today. I hope today's lecture you learned something. I think somebody is there to join. Let me quickly check so I can grant access. So that is the lecture for today. And as I said earlier, it may look confusing because you are not mostly familiar with the terms, particularly the command prompt or the Linux command prompts, like the one let me go back to that place again. For example, here, let me background the session. So we still have access to that particular machine, right? I can still go into it anytime I want. Now, for example, what I mean by command prompts, this is the terminal. It is known as command prompt in Windows. The command I'm typing cd. When I mean cd simply means change directory. For example, this line that you are seeing, this backslash is implied that I'm inside the directory called var. And inside that var, I'm also inside directory of that var called ww. This is a subset of all these directories. So if I want to move back, I'm just using it as an addition to the focus point of today, but I will soon end the class now. If I want to move back from this HTML to this www directory, the second one, if I want to move, I will just type cd change directory dot. That's one. Backslash, you see that it has changed it to the, or I use dot slash, it has changed to the var directory. If I want to list the content under var, you can see, I will just type ls. You can go on YouTube and learn about these command prompts on your own, because we are not going to be doing that. It's simple to actually know. So thank you so much. We have come to the end of the class. Let me go back to the slide. So we've been able to look at the introduction to Nmap. We have hacked the local machine using Nmap and Metasploit. That is what we just you saw us doing. So these are additional resources. I will be sharing the slide again with us on Discord channel. So at this particular point, we have come to the end of the class. And if you have any question, would you like to ask? Any question? Do you have any question?
No, sir, I don't have any question, sir.